So I've made more music on this than on any DAW I've ever owned. And for a long time, I couldn't figure out why. Because on paper, a DAW should win every time. And yet somehow I kept reaching for the smallest, most limited devices on my desk. And it turns out the answer had a lot less to do with gear and a lot more to do with how we actually create. Let's get into it. Over the last year, almost every video on this channel has focused on the same thing: limited gear, portable samplers, and constrained workflows. And the channel has never done better. But more importantly, for the first time in a long time, I've been having fun again making music, not thinking about these convoluted workflows, just making sounds and enjoying the process. In that time, we can also look at what's been going on with hardware. Roland, Teenage Engineering, Akai, even now Casio, most of these hardware brands have been releasing small portable samplers. And these aren't niche products. MPC Sample is sitting at the top of Amazon's sampler category. The SP-404 is back ordered on Sweetwater, and the P033 is still selling hundreds of devices every month, years, I think 7 years after it came out. So this isn't a coincidence that all these companies are making these samplers. Something shifted. And I think I finally understand what that is. But to get into that, we need to go all the way back and look at early samplers. Because the more I looked into the why of what's going on right now, the more I kept coming back to those early devices. Because this isn't the first time producers have had to work with constraints. Back then, those early samplers had small memory, short sample times, limited effects, and not much in the way of editing. I always thought that's just something producers had to work around. But the more I looked into it, that's actually where a lot of the sounds we still chase today stem from. Those warm and gritty, low sample rate and bit depth artifacts. The artifacts from time stretching and pitch changes. Those are now features on these new samplers. So let's take this piano sound and we'll resample it in at a higher octave and then drop it back down. A lot of those techniques came from necessity. Pitching records up to save memory when you sample in, resampling constantly, and having to always commit to audio rather than being in MIDI and sequences. Even something like 16 levels on MPC seemed like a feature to me, but really it was a necessity to perform dynamics before we had the kind of automation that we're used to now. The limitations here weren't obstacles, they were the workflow. But then computers got powerful and everything changed. Suddenly you could do anything. Unlimited samples, visual editing, endless plugins, and most importantly, infinite undo. And that definitely felt like progress, and it is. But here's the thing, when you can do anything, it's really hard to do something because you can always add one more layer, tweak a parameter, or add a new idea. And I think this is where producers, myself included, can get lost in it. And that's not to say DAWs are bad. They're insanely powerful. But for me, the tools aren't bad. There's just too many of them. And that's where it clicked for me. Because looking back at this channel, the videos that have connected most and the ones I've enjoyed making the most, even the songs I've loved to make the most, they were almost always about or with very limited gear, not the most powerful thing on my desk. And I think the reason is the same reason those early producers were so creative on such limited devices. When the limitations are large, you stop overthinking and just commit. Committing to something and seeing where it goes. And I don't think my experience is unique. Over the past decade, there's been a huge pull back towards hardware. Groove boxes, drum machines, samplers, and these devices brought back something that the DAW removed. Constraints, limited voices, limited effects, limited memory, and those constraints actually make it easier to create. You're no longer scrolling through 50 plugins before you choose a reverb. You're just making something. So why are portable samplers at the center of all of this? Because unlike a synth or a drum machine, a sampler isn't tied to one sound or engine. You can feed anything into it, a guitar, a record, a random field recording, and then reshape it, chop it, repitch it, sequence it, and turn it into something completely new. That flexibility inside a constrained workflow is a powerful combo. And now that these are portable, you're not tied to the desk or the studio. You can take them anywhere, and they're just powerful enough that you can sample things in and make full tracks immediately. And that's where the appeal comes from. And for me as a busy parent, that's what makes these samplers so endearing. I can take it anywhere, make a beat, and it's just powerful enough that you can finish a full song on it but it's not powerful enough that you can add tons of different effects, stack all kinds of sounds together, and get caught in the option paralysis. And if you are making music on samplers and portable setups, how you're actually hearing the sound matters even more. And this video is sponsored by OneOdio and the Studio Max 2 headphones. I've been using the Max 1s for about 6 months now, and I was honestly pretty surprised by how good they sounded and the low latency for the price. The Max 2s take that a step further with improved wireless latency, clocking at 9 ms, meaning minimal delay between when you hit a pad to when you hear it, and great frequency response. And even more so with samplers and those limitations we've been discussing this whole time, mixing options can be a bit limited. It's way easier to get things right while you're making the beat instead of trying to fix it later. It's a perfect companion for any portable setup. There's also a companion app for more mobile control, and if you want to check them out, I've got a link below. You can get 15% off using the code SUNWARPER. So let's take a look at all of these portable samplers and what's out there right now. The weird thing is every sampler is responding to this shift, but in a completely different way. SP-404 is the studio chameleon, as I like to call it. It can do basically anything you throw at it. It's just maybe not the best at each of those. MPC Sample came out recently. It is a very focused, dedicated, old school sampler, but with some modern things like really long sample times. The EP133 from my limited time with it is very performance centric. Looks like it's a lot of fun to use and just play and get beats going. The P6 is kind of on the other end of that with a very powerful step sequencer, but also those old school constraints like very limited sample time and low bit rates. And Casio recently announced the SXC-1. I got to check that out at NAMM, and from my time with it, it is a very interesting take on portable samplers, very Game Boy-esque. The step sequencer seems like it's pretty gamified, and when you play samples, there is a quantized playback, not sequences, but just quantized playback. So it does seem very friendly for live performances or jamming on beats just using the playback rather than relying on pattern sequences. And then of course, I've got to mention Koala, because for $5, or if you get all of the updates, I think about 15 or 20, this app just is way too powerful for a phone. It's basically having one of these devices just built into your phone. And for me, each one of these is a different answer to the question, how do we make creating music fun again? And when you zoom out, the history and the patterns start to make a lot of sense. We went from limitations to unlimited options, and for a while that felt like progress. And it is, they are nice to have sometimes, but more options don't always make things easier. They can actually make things harder. Harder to decide, harder to commit, and harder to actually finish anything. So what you're seeing right now isn't just some sort of marketing trend. It's a shift back towards tools that make it easier to create and not just control everything. So why do I finish more music on tools like the SP-404? It's not because it's the best tool, but it's because many of the decisions are already set for me. Limited pads, limited effects, and a limited workflow. And somehow that's exactly enough. So if you're stuck in the option paralysis of a DAW or a massive Dawless setup, try making something with the most limited thing you own. You might be surprised what comes out. And if you want to see my thoughts on all of the samplers I've ever owned, check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.